In this video we are going to cover star trail photography and space photography. I'm currently using a Canon T3, which is a crop frame sensor, along with an 1855 standard kit lens. For the exposures I will be using a remote release. Be sure that you have a fully charged battery, along with an SD card capable of holding a lot of photos and RAW files. The first thing we need to do is get the correct settings on the camera. First, change your dial to the M mode for manual exposure. The next thing we need to do is change the exposure time to 30 seconds. Then we're going to change our ISO speed to 800 to start off with. Next, we're going to make sure that we have our white balance on tungsten light. Then, we're going to make sure that our autofocus mode is on manual, one shot. For our drive mode, we are going to make sure that is on continuous shooting. For our auto lighting, make sure that is on standard. For our aperture, bring it down as low as it will go. It'll start off at maybe f4 or f4.5, but the lens should go down to 3.5 for mine. But sometimes it's kind of finicky about that. For our file size, we're going to go ahead and change that to RAW plus L. RAW for Photoshop if you want to do that, and L or a large JPEG for star trails, which is what we will cover in this video. Once you have that done, go ahead and check your weather. I use the Weather Channel app for the iPhone. What I can do is I can go ahead and change the layers so I can see radar and clouds. That way when you're looking up you can see if there will be clouds covering your sky, and it's looking good for me, so we'll have a clear sky so you can see the stars, which is a good thing. If there's clouds you will not be able to see the stars. Okay, I know you cannot see anything because we are outside and it's dark, but in front of you in fact is the camera. There we go. So we have it on our settings, 30-second exposure at f4.5. I don't like how that keeps creeping up. Should be at f3.5, but like I said, these cameras are really finicky when it comes to that. But close enough. So basically, to frame up your shot, what you want to do is you want to point away from all of your light pollution, hopefully. I'm about 45 miles from Kansas City, which is a big city here. And a lot of light pollution comes from the north, so I'm currently pointing towards the south, which is that way, which is the way I'm pointing. So we have the Milky Way kind of going through the sky and some other stars going up above, so I'll try and take a shot this way and then a shot facing towards the north with light pollution so you can see what it's like. Basically, when you're framing up your shot, the thing you need to know is that you want manual focus and you want image stabilization off, because if the lens is moving around trying to stabilize while you're shooting photos, it will kind of come out blurry. The best way I can tell you to get the stars in focus is just to do it by guess and check, because wrong button. If you turn on the, why do I keep hitting the wrong button? If you turn on the screen, as you can see, there's nothing. You can't even see the stars. Not even if you zoom in 10 times. So, what I do, turn your lens all the way to 18 millimeters, which is the widest angle. Turn your focus knob all the way to the left. And turn it back right just a little bit. Maybe like a couple millimeters. Then, now we're back on f4. Interesting. See if I can get that down. There we go, 3.5. That is what we want. That is exactly what we want. That's exactly what we want. There we go. f3.5. There we go. So, let's take a photo and see how it turns out. And here we go. And I wonder what it's going to look like. Let's hit play. And there, as you can see, we have a fairly decent image actually. So you have a little bit of the Milky Way, some stars, a little bit of a tree in there. So as you can see, that's pretty good for our first try. A thing that I do to check the focus to make sure it's in focus is I zoom in a lot and kind of pick out a couple stars and look at them. And as you can see, they're fairly in focus just from that little couple millimeters we did. So I'm going to leave it like that and go ahead and continue to shoot the photo, I think. Now let's turn the camera straight up so we can get a pretty good view of the sky. And here we go back to our standard screen, and if we look, we hit play, and as you can see, that's actually a fairly decent photo right there of the Milky Way almost. I think it actually is. If we bring this into camera raw when we're done and we change the colors just a little bit, we can bring it out really good. And if we go back just one, we can see our first photo and that photo. And if we turn our camera 180 degrees around and face it towards the north, towards Polaris, and towards the light pollution, we shall see what that looks like. And here we go. And if we hit play, let me get this back into focus. I don't know why I'm having such a hard time. I'm a DSLR film noob, I guess. There we go. If we hit play, you can see all of that light pollution coming from Kansas City. Oh my gosh, it's horrendous. So, as you can see, we have the stars, and then it kind of gets polluted out. And I'm about, what, 45 miles from Kansas City, I want to say. About 20 miles from the suburbs. So, even just 20 miles, it's crazy light pollution. Now, if we, for example, if we turn down the ISO to 400, that would help a little bit if you really wanted to shoot into light pollution. I know for one of my star trails that I did, I'll try and insert it right after this, I had to shoot right towards Polaris, and I had to cut down my ISO a lot and hope that I didn't get too terribly much light pollution. Okay, ISO 400. It's a little better, as you can see. This is ISO 400 and ISO 800 compared to our just pointing straight up and pointing right behind us to the south. So, just try and point away from all your light pollution, and that will also help you out tremendously. And let's tripping over the tripod. I'm going to point this one straight up, I think, for this star trail. If you want to do like star trails or time lapses, now is the time to plug in your remote, because since we have it all set up, we can just plug in our remote now, pop open the side flap, kind of fumble around blindly in the dark, and there we go. We have it going, as you can see. So, once we have this all set up and going, if you're just shooting in your backyard, you can probably leave your camera alone. I've done that and I've been okay because I'm out in the middle of nowhere. But if you like in somewhere else that's kind of densely populated, I would recommend staying with your camera so you don't get your camera or equipment stolen or vandalized or rained on or something. There we go, it just continues on automatically. Speaking of rain, like I said, check the radar and everything before you come out. Also, dew was a problem for me. I used to say nature photography, I'm doing it right. But anyways, if you come out after the dew point has passed and all the dew has fallen, it creates a drastic difference on your photography. You don't get dew on your lens, don't have to wipe it off and refocus. It just makes it so much better when you come out after the dew is done. So, we will come back to this in about maybe 3.5 hours and see how it turns out. Alright, so now that we have captured our photos, let's go ahead and open up startrails.exe. This is the first of the two ways that I used to stitch together my star trail photos, and probably the easiest. It is a free open source software that you can download from the internet, and I will give you a link to that in the description bar. So let's go ahead and open it up and click run. So this is a fairly simple program, as you can see. All you have to do is click open images, and I'm going to go to computer and my drive that I put it on, documents, give it a minute to load, pictures, 2013, September, and I shot this one 9/24. And our photos were after the test, so this only imports JPEG images, so we are not utilizing our raw files yet. I'm going to go down here, and then I'm going to shift and click to select all of these photos. Then I can click open, and as you can see, all of these photos are selected in the left hand corner under files. I haven't really played around with dark frames at all, and I don't think I really need to, but it seems to work for me. So what I'm going to do now is click on this button that says Star Trails, then just go ahead and leave it for light and screen blend without gaps, slower. It's not too bad for me, but then again, I'm running a i7 processor on my computer, so it's not too bad. But then again, I've tried this one and I just wasn't really satisfied with the results, so if you can wait the time, this is really worth it. Once we get that done, we can press OK, and it will go ahead and start to render our star trails. What it does is it layers one image on top of the other, and this layers all 188 images. Alright, so now that we have our star trail stitched together, this is the completed photo. Looks fairly good, as you can see. Zoomed in too much, but came out pretty good. I kind of like some of the star trail photos better when I include a ground reference such as trees or a horizon or something, as it just gives it a little better of a look. But for the option of this tutorial, this came out pretty good, I would say. So now that you've created your masterpiece, go ahead and press the Save Image button, and we'll just save it on desktop as Star Trails 9/24/13, and we will save it as a JPEG. And just click Save and uncompression to 100. OK, and your image has been saved. Congratulations on your first Star Trail photo. So this, I found, is the easiest way to do it and the cheapest probably. You can do it with a 3-hour exposure if you wanted, but it just really takes too much hassle and setting, tweaking, and stuff. Well, due to the lengthiness of this video, we are going to have the Photoshop portion be in a separate video. If you are interested in that, please click in the link below or in the link on screen. Thank you again for watching this video. If you have anyone else that's interested, please like, share, and subscribe. And I hope your star trails come out very epic.